Hakim Olajuwon. I don't know anything about Hakim Olajuwon. I just said that name randomly. I know he was a basketball player at some point. That's about it. Where my head's at. Hey, Shabating. I started recording this while the mid-season trailer was coming out, so I had to start over to make a few changes, whatever. Pop, 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 pop. Here we go. Hey, hi. Hello. Hello, hi. Why does the camera keep doing that? There's only 2 episodes of Loki left, and I just wanted to share some of my thoughts of what's going to happen, as well as where I think the MCU might be headed. In the comics, in the lead up to Secret Wars, called Time Runs Out, there's a character that acts like a harbinger, sort of, for the reader to let people know that another Earth is near and an incursion is about to happen. Sadly, we don't have the Black Swan in the MCU, nor a Doctor Doom to found the order. I think it's possible, though, that someone here is our Black Swan, or Kang Prime is going to assume the role of Molecule Man. I also assume Loki's arc is leading us to our first real incursion, and if we don't actually see one by the end of this, I feel like we will for sure see one in the Marvel. Lastly, I wanted to share some thoughts on why things shouldn't get better and how we should end up at Secret Wars / battleworld. So in the comics, the Black Swan shows up on Earth, and there's a lot leading up to it, as well as a lot to explain her being there, but the long and short of it is that she is a survivor of an incursion, and her being on Earth means that time is running out. It turns out that it's Doctor Doom who founded the Order of the Black Swans, who are basically trying to find and kill Molecule Men across the universe to stop them from being detonated as living bombs by the Beyonders. Pretty simple, right? Forget about the last part for now. See some parallels there? My theory is that if Mobius is going to be in Deadpool 3, then either he has formed a new TVA, saved the old one, or is simply from the show we've been following and ends up somehow in the universe that Deadpool's in. This would mean that there's only a short jump from the Deadpool universe, which, if you trust the rumors, is supposed to collide with the 616. Mobius could end up as one of these survivors, and thus our Black Swan analog. This could lead to him embarking on the same mission as the Swans to eliminate / redeem / imprison Kang variants to prevent the Secret Wars, which ultimately fails. But like in the 2015 Hickman run, Mobius will be able to save a handful of universes, which a newly introduced Doctor Doom could still turn into Battleworld. How? Well, the Black Swans were actually formed by Doctor Doom in the past. This could easily be achieved by a post-credit scene in Fantastic Four, or even making it a small part of the conflict of the movie itself, where Doom is in the past doing something shady and the F4 gotta stop him, or whatever, but it turns out that he's forming the Swan. Then we can connect the two with Doctor Strange 3, perhaps, by including the storyline where he forms the Black Priests, a faction who sought to eliminate the Black Swans because they misguidingly thought that they were responsible for the incursions. Doctor Strange realizes that they were wrong and that Doom was trying to save things and helps him form Battleworld. You see how this all just kind of falls into place? So let's rewind a little bit. How will the last 2 episodes shake out, and how does this connect with the other stuff I just mentioned? Well, it seems like Loki is going to be going through a sort of Groundhog Day style time loop through time slippage, and this could be because of the explosion itself, which could culminate in everyone ending up in the void at the end of time. Since Renslayer was pruned, I'm guessing she'll be there somehow, taming Goliath. She'll be defeated, but I think it'll be the only resolution that we get in this story. Likely we will see a bunch of Lokis helping ours take her out. The thing here is, how do they get to the void at the end of time? I think the answer is as simple as Goliath is made up of the energy from the tears of the fabric of space-time, which means that the explosion that rocked the TVA in the last episode might be made up of the same energy as well, and so possibly it getting caught in said explosion could be the same as getting pruned. As we know, in order for Loki to time slip the first time, he had to be sent through the time door by Sylvie, getting his aura scattered through the timeline. So we would have to go to Void, to Goliath being enchanted, to the Citadel, to the time door, then to slippage, then to the Groundhog Day. So I think that's going to be covered in 2 episodes. Either way, I think this version, this specific version that we saw of the TVA in the last episode is toast. Dunzo. My theory from the get-go was that this never was the only TVA. I think that any number of infinite black holes could contain any number of infinite potential TVAs. Hell, they could contain the backrooms for all we know if it's truly infinite. infinite. As a reminder, when He Who Remains was catching us up on the multiversal war, he mentioned that there was cooperation among some of his less evil variants, and that could carry over here. The theory that I have is that since Kang is known to be a grifter, cheat, con man, Marvel could pull a bit of a Omega level Trevor Slattery, and thus actually boosting Kang's intimidation factor. Bear with me here for a moment. Okay. If it's true that there are infinite universes with infinite Kangs, and that means that there's a logical guarantee that Kangs could gather in enormous numbers in one place, contact each other to convene, even use their massive numbers to form a kind of collective cloud or network, all communicating with each other with screaming fast accuracy over complete universes and timelines across black holes. This could be the scariest reveal yet in the MCU, that Kang's power, even though he's just a man, is truly inconceivable and thus limitless. He could die and come back immediately, call in a particularly strong variant, or increase in number as he needs organically. As with Scott's doubles in the probability storm and Quantum these Kangs would have a unified goal: to kill the Avengers, other Kangs, whatever the case. They could even be behind everything we've seen up till now, operating behind the scenes, manipulating things, and using deception to drive the events forward. Here's my example. He Who Remains is introduced in season 1. I have this vision where the Citadel is actually crawling with Kang variants, like a command center or backstage at a highly organized play, who are all working towards the unified goal of maintaining their sacred timeline. They hear on the radio or from Miss Minutes about the giant cloud dog's enchantment by the Lokis and realize, oh, it's this timeline, it's this scenario, it's this whatever. So launch protocol, whatever, launch protocol 35, and then they all spring into action, getting one of the Kangs dressed up in old shabby robes, one variant reminding him how to act like him, like, you know, all quirky and whatever. They could arrange things to make it look like there's only one guy living there, even going so far as to tipping over one of the statues. Like, perhaps there was clearly a plan to all of this, and this could be how we get the answers to the questions we were left with in the last season, seeing it play out from a different angle entirely. Next, my hope is that whoever survives from this black hole container ends up in another, and this is how we get our sort of black swan connection. They warn whoever is there, and the next entry featuring these characters has them surviving an incursion and ending up in the 616, which will probably perfectly coincide with the formation of our own Illuminati, most likely made up of Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, these survivors, Wanda if she's been resurrected by then, you know, people who are familiar with the multiverse or who have seen or survived incursion. I also believe that either Namor, who would be most likely, or less of a chance Black Panther, would be included so that we can get some form of the Cabal. Look it up, it's a great story. Ultimately, I think the end of the saga is going to end in some sort of a Dutchman catch, where there must always be a captain. So He Who Will Remain might seem like a good choice, but I'm guessing it's going to end up as either Loki, as he once ran the universe in his own comics, but that would mean that we would lose Loki and probably Tom Hiddleston to some blank white void, if that were the case. More likely, and my hope is that it ends up being Mobius, and that he, along with B-15, will continue to run an ethical TVA in whatever universe they end up in. Or, in my personal headcanon theory, Battleworld's version of the Thor core. I don't know. I know I'm crazy. What else? Who knows, you know? Also, I'm guessing that Loki's going to use his magic in some way since the dampeners were lifted, and I'm also guessing that Kang is actually a Stark descendant instead of a Richards descendant like he was in the comics. Also, stay tuned for how I would have done things in the MCU after Secret Invasion and how I would do the Thunderbolts, two super nerdy ass projects I've been working on. Anyway, that's about all I got for you.